Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Orlina. I am a transformational life coach and I'm in San Diego, California.
Thank you so much for listening or watching or both, whichever you're doing today to join us. We often mention Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks on this podcast. If you are not familiar with those names, Esther is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. You can find more about them by searching on your web browser or on YouTube if you're watching us there, or you can also go to their website, abraham-hicks.com. Each week we start our discussion from a different jumping off point, and this week Stephanie came to the Zoom saying, Collin, I have a hot topic. I am jazzed. It's going to be fantastic. And I was like, I buckled my imaginary seatbelt that I have here, and I'm ready for your topic, your jumping off point.
Part of
It's
that is true.
fabulous.
Part of that is true and part of it is imaginary. Um, so I was wondering, what would it be like if we accepted that what we want is inevitable?
Yeah. It's kind of the opposite, right? When you're struggling with something, like you're struggling, you feel like you're struggling to manifest something, or you've been wanting something for a long time. It's like the thoughts that run through my head is like, when is it ever gonna? I don't know if it's ever gonna come. I don't know. Inevitable. That word is like it's locked in. Because you say all the time, like it's done, but I feel like
Asking it
inevitable.
is given.
Right. So it's sort of the same thing, but
Yeah.
the word inevitable, because we talk a lot all the time about how we think in language. So the words that we think, the words that we use are super important in this work. Um, our vibration is also very important, but the words we choose to express ourselves or think about are very important. And inevitable is just a great word to me because it's like it's locked. Like, don't even worry about it. It's inevitable. Like, I'm gonna go do my thing. It's like it is inevitable.
So that's what my question is like, okay, what we want is inevitable. What you want, Collin, is inevitable. What I want is inevitable. All of our listeners, anything and everything they've asked for is inevitable. Now what? What would you do?
Yeah, right. Because then the struggle's over, right? The mental jumping jacks. That oh, when, should I? What? When is it? How? Blah blah. It's like no, just go live your life. Just go have a great day. And that's the most uncomfortable thing for us sometimes. I think that's one thing that's
Is it
interesting. Is
is
like
it uncomfortable for you? Because that's my
sometimes.
question is, what would you do? What would you be like? What would you do in the meantime, in the interim? What
Well, I think once I get past the discomfort of that, that creates sometimes, it's like I could just enjoy my day. I can just relax. I can have fun. I can do, hang out with friends, whatever. But I think in the immediate, like when I say, oh, it's inevitable,
Mhm.
the immediate thing to me is my brain goes, wait, we're not going to worry about it coming. We're not going to obsess about it coming or not coming. We're going to,
Really, is that what?
yeah, there's like a little bit of a void there of like, but I think it's an important moment when that does happen for me
Mhm.
because it's like that's the practice, right? Is just stepping
Yeah.
out of the is it coming? When is it coming? How is it coming? Why don't I have it? Do I
Yeah.
deserve it? All that crap that we have from our old programming. It's like, yeah, step out of that. And if it's new, if that moment after is new,
Yeah. Yeah.
comfortable,
Yeah.
practice breathing into that.
Yeah.
And then just go have a great day. Just live your life. Just have a
So
great day.
what would that entail for you? Like for today, like today's Sunday, and it's cool because I had a mentor call at 9:30 and and I was like, man, I need to do laundry today. You and I, spend a couple hours doing this. I really
Mhm.
like my alarm went off at 7:30 and I was trying to open my eyes at 8 and just like struggling. And so she calls me. I think it was around 8:45 and says I can't make it at 9, can you do later? And I'm like, yeah. And so immediately I thought, oh my God, this is perfect because I wanted to get laundry done. And so I was able to do that and make myself a nice breakfast. And then here we are. And after she, while she was calling me and was like, I can't make 9 o'clock, what do you do? And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is perfect because I was afraid I wasn't going to get a load of laundry done later. It's often, as you can see, my hair is not blown out again. And I, have not wanted to do it. And so I'm like,
I was
that
not going
and
to mention
laundry.
that, but thank you. Thank you, because
And I thought that and laundry in the same day. It's Sunday. I want to enjoy my day. And now I've like, knocked off half of what I needed to do. And it's like, um, I can play today. Like I can like honestly, my universal manager took care of the laundry timing. I
mhm.
was like,
Yeah.
here's this opening, I can get it done. And I did. And Abraham says, call law of attraction your universal manager. Act as if you have this manager who is ready and willing to do anything and everything you need and want.
Mhm.
And when I called you the other day, you said to me, because you had two things that you had attracted,
Mhm.
and and I thought when you were telling me the first story, I thought that was your universal manager taking care of that for
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
the paperwork.
Yeah.
So we have so much help. There's so much going on, and it all is dependent upon our vibration. And so I thought when that happened, I was like, well, Steph, even though you were tired and you were concerned about, getting certain things done today, I'm like, I was obviously in a good enough vibration that
Mhm.
I attracted moving that call from 9 to a little later. And then I could get this one thing that I thought I may not
Yeah.
get done today that I really needed and wanted to get done.
Yeah. I mean, I think to answer your question a little more deeply in terms of like what do you do if you really believe everything you want is inevitable, it's coming to you no matter what.
Yeah.
What next? And I think the deeper answer for me is then I feel like I'm in touch with my true inner voice more.
Mm,
I hear my inner being that's connected to,
hmm.
higher power, the universe, whatever, more
Yeah.
clearly. And I think that's the thing. I think so much during my day, sometimes I'm not accessing, I'm not listening to that inner voice to say, what should I do next? How should I spend the next 2 hours? How should I spend today or whatever? Or what should I do tonight?
Hmm.
It's a lot of chatter,
Hmm.
and I'm picking and choosing from this chatter of like, well, if you don't do this, you don't do
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't mean that we should shirk our responsibilities or anything like
No,
that,
not
but
at
it's like,
all.
you know, um, there's times where it's like we need to do the laundry, and like if we really listen to our inner voice, it'd be like, today you need to do the laundry.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's like my inner voice will tell me like, you better do the laundry right now. It's like this
That's
negative
like the inner
thing.
critic, right?
It
That's
could,
not,
yeah. I got a number of. I don't like to talk about it, but I got a lot of different voices in my head.
yeah. Well, and no, we do.
Yeah,
Some of them there's just a few, some there's more,
yeah,
but we do have this inner dialogue and this inner family, each and every one of us.
yeah.
And, someone just recently said, oh, and my inner parent, my critical parent, that's what she said, my critical parent.
Mm,
And so that almost sounded like that voice, right?
yeah,
Well, are you gonna do your homework? You got to do that's like that critical inner parent.
yeah.
Um,
Or another thing, I think maybe it's the same voice. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but there's also like a should voice, which I feel like comes from, it's like what other people would think I should do, not me,
yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
what like, oh,
The
if I don't
yeah,
do this, people will think I'm blah blah
blah
blah.
blah, yeah.
So yeah, so I think when it's like, if I really accept that, like, oh, everything I've, and we talk about like, you don't even really have to ask for it. from the universe, but like
Because it's
everything
an energy. It's an energy. It's
yeah,
all vibration. That's what it is. It's all vibration. And so we don't even have to put words to it. And you and I have talked about this. And I have my little story of when I voiced something I wanted and then I just thought something else I wanted and never said it again, never thought it
yeah.
again. And within a week's time, I have both and I'm like floored.
That's one. I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot about like the things that come that I manifest the quickest, the most often are the things that I literally it's like it's almost like accidentally I trick myself because it's like I see something I'd be like, oh, that'd be cool, but it doesn't feel important to my mind, like it's like not a priority, so I go, oh, that's cool, and then I just don't think about it again, which means I don't put up any resistance, and then it tends to show up like quickly and in a great way and all this sort of stuff. And I think one of the things I've been sort of wrestling with a little bit mentally in terms of how I think about it is how can I turn the stuff that's like, like if you're looking for a new home, or I guess I'll use me. Like if in the times of my life where I've been looking for a new home, like when I had to find this place, I had 30 days. It's a story I think I've told on the pod before, but I had a 30-day limit, and then I was going to be like basically homeless. Um, and so I had to find a place in 30 days. And initially, that was not a good thing because it was like the chatter in my brain was like, oh no, what if I don't find something in 30 days? What if there's nothing in my
Oh
price
yeah.
range? What if there's not da 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 da? And
Resistant thoughts.
I needed to talk to you and some of my other friends
Yeah.
who understand this stuff to go, oh, don't be doing that. Write down what you want for a
Yeah.
home, for an apartment, and then you know go do something that makes you feel good,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you are in a happy state from something, like you
You,
watched
yeah,
your
and you
favorite
did do
movie.
that, right? Like
Yeah.
you wrote down what you wanted, and then one of your friends was playing in a concert, right? Or at a bar?
Oh, that's a different
Different story?
story. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a
But
different
you
story.
went and had fun. You had this
Yes.
issue, problem
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on, and then you went and had fun, and that led to a solution to your problem, right?
Yeah. And the other thing about this particular story is I saw this apartment in Glendale. It's part of Los Angeles. Um, and Glendale's a very nice area. I really like it, but it was actually at the time like it would have been a really tough commute for the day job I had at that point.
Mhm.
And the apartment was like 40% of what I wanted.
Okay.
But I was desperate to get it because I was in the wrong mentality. I was in like, oh my God, if I
Yeah.
don't get a place, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I took one day to think about it, and then I contacted the property management company like the next morning, and they said, "Oh, it's already taken. You waited too long." And I remember calling some friend. I don't remember exactly who it was. And I was like, "Oh my God, like I screwed up. Like I didn't." And then I looked at another place that was I didn't even go in the place because like the neighborhood, the vibe, like everything was wrong. So I was like, I'm not even gonna look at that. There's no way I want to live there. And then the very next place I looked at was this place, and this place
Mm,
literally had everything on my list and more.
yes.
And I was like, oh, that made me look at the Glendale apartment as like, oh, like what, like you say, like the universal manager was totally in charge and was doing everything. Like, why did I try to get, like I tried to step in and be like, even though that's not the right place for me, it doesn't feel right. It feels like the commute's too long, whatever. I want to wrestle this into being my home. And luckily, the universal manager was like, dude, chill. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I got you
got your
covered.
place.
That's
You just
my
haven't.
job.
It's
It's
the
like,
third
that's my
place.
job. I got you. Yeah.
The third place you look at, not the first. I know which one it is.
Well, and I think what you said something is what you said is very important, which it didn't feel right.
Yeah, yeah,
And that like takes care of because I can relate to what you were saying as I've seen places and it's been like my whole body's like, no.
sure. Well, think about. I mean, I think everybody has some sort of experience like that in their life where they went on a job interview and the interview was just they did fine in the interview or whatever, but like the vibe, the company, the people were like, eh. But like you feel like, well, I need a job, like I better get that job, and then when they call you and tell you you didn't get that job, you're like, oh
Yeah.
no, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And same thing with, how many of us have gone on a second or third date when we were like, you know what? I had the feeling on the first or second, like, and all date number two or three did was confirm,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
no crime, but it's like, yeah, we a lot of times if we're, and again, like if we're like, well, I need a boyfriend, I need a girlfriend, like I don't know, they had 20% of what I wanted, maybe blah blah
Right.
blah. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's not to say again that doing research is bad, getting more information is bad, but it's just like so often I think we have, the inner compass in us, the inner voice is like tells us yes and we ignore it and go no no no, or tells us mm-mm, and we're like, but I really need one, I think
Yeah.
so.
So getting back to then what would what would we then do in in the interim? What would we do? What would you do? You've come to realize like,
Well, I think I would listen to my inner voice and I would try to follow its direction.
mhm,
um, but I think most often what that voice tells me is go do something you love, or call someone you love, or watch a movie you love, or
mhm,
listen to music that you love,
yeah,
and try to get yourself off. I've really been challenged lately. I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago. My stuff about money is not great right now. Like I'm resisting money a lot and I don't really understand it. It's sometimes embarrassing that I do this podcast and like I feel like I can feel myself like resisting money right now. And it's like when I catch myself, what I try to do is just like just go do something fun, man. Like get yourself on, and I can
yes,
feel when I've let go mentally
yeah.
of the struggle of like, why can't I attract enough money?
How 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 do you know when you've let go? What is the
I'm just
indicator
not.
of
I'm immersed in whatever I'm doing that feels good, and I'm not
mm,
thinking about it at all.
nice?
I'm not having those worry thoughts. You know,
Yeah,
but I've also found that's why I think it's so, like changing the channel. By doing something else
yeah,
is such a great tool for me because you know, theoretically, I could try to change my thoughts. If I'm thinking like, why don't I have enough money today? Why isn't that money showing up?
no,
I
that's
can
why
try to go in and be like, all right, I'm going to think about wealth and being abundant and being prosperous, but that's
yeah,
super hard. Like
that's like
and
what is
we don't
it?
have to do that because it's not going off, as you always say. The universe isn't going, the law of attraction is just a law. It just goes like attracts like. It's not going off what comes out of my mouth. It's going off how I feel my
Yeah,
vibration.
the
So it doesn't,
vibration, yeah.
I don't have to like, oh no, I have to be. It's like, no, just go watch your favorite movie. You'll be distracted. You'll feel great,
You'll
and
feel
that's
better.
that's
Yeah,
opening the gates. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, Friday, I had a good day and but by the time I got home around 5 or so, I was really tired.
Mm,
And I, I needed to get up early in the morning because I had a meeting to go to and was going to drive out to my plan was to have breakfast afterwards and then drive out to Escondido and Rancho Santa Fe and just drive around and take in the nature and stuff. And I wake up like at 3:50 or whatever and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I started journaling and fell back to sleep. And then I didn't get up till 9:30. So I missed my meeting. I just had made the decision I wasn't going to catch it. And then just lied around. I was still tired. Like I never, got refreshed. And so I did a few things I needed to take care of and rested most of the day. And then the evening time came around. I was like, okay, I need to go out, do something fun. What do we want to do? And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Pacifica Drive. Pacifica Drive is the street that's very high up and it borderlines Pacific Beach. And the view can see the mountain range. It literally has greater than a just shy of a 360 view.
mm,
And so the mountain range, on a clear day, I can see the last part of Mexico.
mm.
Um, and then, the Coronado Islands, the point, and then the ocean. And I thought, I'm going to go over there. That's what the fun thing I'm going to do today. So I drove over there and oh, it was gorgeous. By the time I got there, it was a little dark. And so the lights were on and hadn't been there at night before and was just taking it in. It was just like, oh, beautiful. And then it was like, oh, I'm going to go to Kate Sessions Park because Kate Sessions Park has a beautiful view. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I don't think
And
I have.
yeah, and so, but never. when I left the house, did Kate Sessions Park ever come to my mind?
Mm.
So I go to Kate Sessions Park and it's pretty crowded and it's dark by this time. And I get a parking spot and I can see Coronado Bridge lit up. I can see the ocean. I can see the bay. And I'm just basking. And then it was like, oh, I'm going to go to the ocean. That was not, I thought I had when I left the house.
Mm.
And it was just like this little breadcrumb, like I went and did one thing I liked. And then from that point of view, I was like, had this inspiration to go to Kate Session. And then, so then I drive to the ocean and we get out and there's no one really around. And it's this one spot I like. It's the end of the street and literally the ocean's right there over cliffside. And I can hear the waves. And I'm listening to one of our podcasts and I, take the earbuds out and I'm just listening to the ocean come up and it's Saturday night, so I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, everyone, not true, is coupled, everyone is on a date.
There's gotta be a name for like Friday night, Saturday night feeling when you're single and like you drive by a movie theater or a bar or something and you see a bunch of people on dates and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, why not
yeah,
me?
yeah. And so, but it was funny because there's a grocery store called Gelson's, a few blocks before I get to the ocean. And so I usually stop there to use the restroom. And there were plenty of men walking around. There were plenty of women walking around. And I was like, Steph, no one knows you're not married. No one knows, and then I was like, and there's people here. It's a set, blah, blah, blah. So I was just talking myself through it. But I get to the ocean and I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea when I left the house I was going to go here. Look, one thing led to the other. Here I'm at the ocean. I'm like, Steph, it's Saturday. You just took yourself on a date. I'm like, oh, I'm on a date. Like they talk about that when you're single, like date yourself.
Yeah.
And I was in awe of what, like one thing led to the next. I was open but it originated from, let me go do something fun. What would I like to do?
Mhm.
And then it ended up being this, couple of hour adventure. And I have to tell you, when I left the ocean, I felt so much better than when I got there because I had shown myself I had fun. I was doing something that I enjoyed, and I showed myself that I like really love myself. Like I took the time, and the thinking, the train of thought had shifted to like, yeah, it was really incredible. And so I think that's what we can do in the interim. That's part of what we can do in the interim.
Mhm.
Is like, yeah, we have to work or we need to work, most of us. We need to take care of those, life things that happen. And I think it's really important. I'm starting to get this more and more for me to sprinkle, even if it's one thing, even if it's coloring, like when I was waiting for you, I just, on my little sheet of paper of notes I was taking, I just started doodling.
Mhm.
I'm like, I was rushing this morning. It's like, no, just breathe. And, like I love what Abraham says that Jerry did was Jerry stepped back from anything that bothered him and focused
Sorry,
on something.
Jerry is sorry to interrupt, but Jerry is Esther Hicks' husband,
Husband, yeah, yeah.
passed excuse me, passed away years ago, but was heavily involved in their work together.
Right. And he was really, I think, the catalyst that brought Abraham to us because he had so many questions, even from a young boy. He had all these questions. And Esther was very open and receptive. And so the two just made this perfect coupling of bringing Abraham to us. And he was the one that really wanted to share Abraham to the masses. Esther was like, you better not ever tell anyone that I do this, because she was mortified at that point, and now, she's come to accept it and loves it and enjoys it. Um, but yeah, so I'm just like, I've just asked myself, because I'm realizing like more and more, like, well, if it's done, I think talking to you when you started scripting, I heard that Abraham from a long time ago where the gentleman said he did a future as president and wrote this letter and thanking Abraham for all these wonderful things. And then he goes, and then I just made a list of fun things that I like to do. And so he goes, I just look at it every day and like, okay, what fun thing do I want to do? And he goes, not to make things happen because I was already wrote the letter as though they had happened. So I knew that was taken care of. But my job is to feel good. So what can I do today to help myself feel good, feel better? I
Yeah.
have to tell you, it's really fun. I'm enjoying it.
Well, I think that's one of the things about, once you develop an understanding for how the law of attraction works and how you can practice the art of allowing to work with it, the most successful way, it's like, life becomes fun, which I think is what it was meant to be. I
Yeah.
mean, so many of us kind of stay stuck sometimes in patterns of, oh, we have to suffer, or we
Ooh.
don't deserve money or whatever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, yeah, life can be very rich and fun and filled with joy and peace, not 24/7, not 365, but a lot of the time. And what we don't realize is we're the barrier,
Yeah.
that's stopping it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We
because
get
when
to
you,
choose, right? We get
yeah,
to
because I think,
choose.
to go back to your original question, like, if you just knew everything you wanted was coming to you and that was inevitable, what would you do? It's like, oh, I would just relax and be happy. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So,
And those were the, God, I bought this book. Did I keep it? I hope I did. I don't remember if I kept it when I moved. It was this little book I bought in Julian, like probably 20 years ago. It was this cute little store that had all kinds of knick-knacky stuff. And it was just a tiny little book. And it said on it, be happy. And I was just so drawn to it. And I bought it and I had it by my bedside for years. And then I have this crystal hanging. It's got a bunch of beads and a star at the bottom. And in the center, it has beads that says play.
mm,
And so I have that hanging on my light. And then the other one was the relax that came to me, I think in 2010 via a card. My next door neighbor sent me a birthday card, which I thought was so bizarre. It was just a card that said relax. I'm like, that's a different kind of, it was more like a little thank you card, but she, wished me happy birthday. And then that same weekend, I saw the huge sign. It was a mural on the long side of the freeway on the 8. And it was a mural on a hotel and it said relax in the biggest letters possible. And then, so those were, and I think of it as my inner being talking to me and being like, be happy, play, relax. Like if that can be my foundational piece, and like you said, I'm not always there, I'm trying to practice it. I can get into worry and fear and control and doubt and blah, blah, blah. But these other things feel a lot better. And and just reminding myself, well, Steph, if it's inevitable, so just because it's not here today doesn't mean it's not coming. It's like that's ridiculous because what's here right now wasn't here at one point, now it is. And one day I'm going to turn a corner and there's going to be whatever it may be. How much time do we have? Because I have this cool story I want to tell really quickly. Do we have time?
yeah, sure.
Okay. So Friday, I had just got my tires rotated and I was heading to the Dunkin' Dogs to give Nibbles a bath. And I'm up on Claremont Drive, and there is this little commercial park that's got a bunch of small businesses in it. And I don't know, a couple of years ago, I saw in the parking lot there was a white 2012, I'm imagining, Lexus LS 460. And so I remember driving. So I was driving past this commercial park, and I thought, oh, let me see. I'm going to go in there and see if it's there. So I pull in and I see it. It's parked, and I park right next to it. And I'm just like all happy. I'm like, there's my future car's cousin. And I get out of the car and I'm like just slowly walking around it, taking it in. Like, ooh, it's white. And I get towards the quarter panel of the passenger side. And I look in the back seat, and I had to do a double take because the hat I bought myself a couple years ago in Cambria, same hat was sitting in this car's back seat. And I actually lost the hat in Philadelphia when I went. I left it in Venice's trunk.
Mm.
And it's so bummed because I love this hat. And I was like, what? And I've been trying to replace this hat and hadn't found one yet. So I was like, so I go back to, I'm like, I have to take a picture of it and I have to get my image in the window, you know. And so I go to my car and I get my camera, my phone, and I go stand next to it and I try to really focus in on the hat, but I'm also trying to get my image. And so in the picture you can see me smiling. So then I get that picture and then I walk over to the passenger door side and I look in, and this person has, just like me, their windshield sunshade, and it's a trifold folded up, and it's stuck in between the passenger seat and the console where the gear shift is. And I just have to laugh because that's how I store mine. So here are these two things that I love this sunshade too, because a lot of them times now they're separated and it's hard to put together, and I don't want that kind. So I just, yeah, I drove away and I was like, what the hell? So then later I get my pedicure and I find the hat. This hat store, like a block away from my pedicure place, is going out of set. It's going out of business. They're having a sale. And I walk right in, and the hat I just saw in the back seat of the Lexus is sitting on the stand. It's for sale. It's on sale. And so I have it.
Wow.
But I just thought, you know, we talk about indicators here. And the Lexus having the two things that one of them I owned, one of them I really liked, two of them I used in that car was just like an indicator of like, of course I'm going to have an LS 460 20, or because of course I do. Like it's inevitable. So I just wanted to tell that story.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing it. And I think, this is the thing too. Like we all have those kind of weird experience, those experiences that feel weird or like, oh my God, it's so crazy. I actually watched a video on YouTube the other day where like somebody who, I won't go into all the details, but somebody who I had spoken previously, like they don't believe in any of the woo woo stuff, like the law of attraction or anything like that. And they told this elaborate story of synchronicity of like they found out this thing about something and then it showed up in a completely different part of their life the next day and they're like, yeah, it's so weird, it's so crazy. And I'm like, I mean, if you don't understand that that's how the universe works all the time, then it seems weird and seems crazy. But that's not because the universe doesn't do it very often. It's because we're blocking it 99% of the time. And then the 1% of the time we're not blocking it and it shows up. We're like, oh my God, that's so weird compared to everything else in my life. So, yeah. Well, this has been a really great discussion. We hope you got something out of it today. Remember, at this time, in March of 2024, we're posting a brand new episode for you every single Monday morning. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform that you're viewing us or listening to us on allows you to do to support the podcast. Our social media links and all that, and our Patreon, if you want to support us financially, are down the doodly doo of the description of the YouTube version below. We wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again next time on the next episode of Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.